So our discussion of freedom in Canto 1 has come to the point where we've concluded that freedom means responsibility for one's own identity in some final sense. This notion of responsibility opens up an entirely new issue here, but it's one that I think is suggested very vividly in what happens in the last episode of Canto 1, after Dante, in his attempt to escape the dark wood, tries to climb up the mountain, is driven back by the beasts, is at a moment of despair, and then someone else comes into the picture. Virgil bearing an offer of help. This moment of the entrance of the other into the question of who am I, into the question of my responsibility for my identity, now suddenly becomes a question of relationship. As a Christian religious poem, the comedy is, of course, committed to the idea of divine grace, committed to the idea that human freedom depends utterly on divine grace. But the theological concept of grace, functionally, and here in Canto 1 at least, is reduced to the very simple occurrence of someone else offering to help. Someone comes bearing a gift, the offer of a gift. The offer of a gift that will help Dante become himself. The idea that identity is not a question of the self alone. This drama of personal choice, this drama of responsibility for one's own identity, is always inseparable from the question of others, the other, God as a divine other, if you will, and all of the other human beings here signaled by the advent of Virgil. I'll use the phrase relational identity to signal the way in which the question, who am I, is inseparable from the question, who are we? We are both individuals, selves, if you will, and participants in relationships that precede us and follow us without limit. We are embedded in a web of relationship. This is an idea which will recur frequently in our discussion of the significance of Dante's journey through the realms of the afterlife.